Okay, council members, we're going to move right into the legislative session. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harrisburg City Council legislative session. Today is Tuesday, June the 23rd, 2020. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. Mr. Petrosky, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett.
Present.
Ms. Bowers.
Present.
Ms. Daniels.
Here.
Ms. Green.
Present.
Mr. Madsen.
Here.
Mr. Majors.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Present. Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. Moving on to the invocation, Mr. Allett.
Thank you, Council President. So at this time, if we could keep the family of Alfreda Bellamy in our thoughts and prayers this week, as well as in our county prison, we've become alerted to a COVID-19 outbreak that's affecting a large number of our prisoners and staff there, as well as in this uncertain time of the COVID-19, if we could keep our first responders, our healthcare workers, and our entire community in our thoughts and prayers as we continue to fight against this pandemic. So we could just pause for a moment of silence. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on to Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Green.
Thank you, President Williams. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Moving on to communications, we have none this evening, council members. Moving on to courtesy of the floor, Mr. Petrosky, is there anyone who would like to speak to City Council at this point?
Yes, we have a public comment.
Would you please read it?
The public comment is from Danny Martin at 4th and Riley Streets. He says, he's writing a comment on Bill 8. I'm concerned that the bill does not any investigatory power or ability to subpoena information. It seems that the only information they can investigate is what the Harrisburg police willingly gives them. This would not result in transparency. Their board would also have no power to act on the information other than publicizing it. Nationwide police departments know about abuse and brutality and often choose not to act on it or give a slap on the wrist. I don't see how a board with no power to investigate or act will change that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. And we invite you to be at our next meeting on our work session, which will be June 30th. We will discuss Bill 8 of 2020. And maybe at that time we can address your question. Moving on to approval of minutes. Approval of legislative session minutes of June 9th, 2020. Are there any omissions, deletions, or corrections, council members? Hearing none, minutes will stand approved. We now move on to reports of committee. Report from Chair Daniels on the work session of June 16, 2020. Ms. Daniels.
Thank you. So on June 16th, we had the Parks and Rec workshop on Resolution 36-2020, which is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, Greenways and Trails and Recreations Program for $250,000. The grant application, if it's submitted, if we get it, will just continue to supplement the Chutes and Ladder project that the city's been working for at the Reservoir Park. That project is about $1 million. So this will add an additional $250,000 to what we already have towards that project. So that's pretty much it. It's just a grant application. If we get it, the work continues. If we don't, we have to keep finding the money. So I would ask my colleagues to support it and give us an opportunity to get those funds towards the city and the city's open spaces.
Okay. Moving on to the next report from Chair Mattson on the public hearing of June 16, 2020. Mr. Mattson.
Yes, thank you, President Williams. Community and Economic Development Committee discussed Resolution 37 of 2020, a resolution approving the primary final subdivision plan to subdivide the property at 651 Arlick Street into two separate parcels to be known as 3243 Penwood Street and 651 Arlick Street. Planning Director Knight gave an overview of the project. The applicant provided an overview as well. Council members asked questions. During the Q&A, it should be noted that council had approved consolidation of the lots in 2016, but due to a lapse in communication, a portion of land was sold without being reported to the city. It was reported to the county, but because the records had not been up to date, the city was unaware of the transaction. And so overall, we discussed some ways moving forward on how we can establish better communications with the county, but the project is in compliance, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote in favor of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you.
Report from Chair Majors on the work session of June 16, 2020. Mr. Majors.
Thank you, President Williams. Excuse me. On Tuesday, June 16th, the Public Works Committee met to consider the following resolutions. Resolution 42 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Harrisburg Area Transportation Regional, the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Regional Transportation Planning and Implementation Program for $832,437.94 to fund a lane diet, landscaping and curbing work for Forster between 2nd and Front Streets. We also met on Resolution 43, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates for the purpose of providing east-west multimodal connection with one engineering services. And the final resolution was Resolution 44 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Wilson Consulting, PC, for the purpose of providing engineering services, including conceptual design, final design, bidding, construction services for Boyd Street Urban Meadow expansion. On Resolution 42, which is the lane diet, it's a grant application again. So it's a part of the 5-year capital improvement plan for our region. We would be losing a turning lane there on Forster Street. And again, all this is going to be contingent upon receiving a grant. There were several questions from members of council regarding other projects that we know are of importance to our city, including the State Street project, some of the rapid response, Dairy Street, et cetera. So, we're asking, I'm going to ask my members of council to vote in the affirmative on this. Again, it is simply a grant application, and we will have to see if we're successful in receiving the grant. But I know there is a big push from all members of council to ensure that we continue to put the focus on portions of our Vision Zero project, which include funding for the most important, one of the more important projects in the city of Harrisburg, which is trying to ensure that there's more safe passage coming across State Street. To Resolution 43, let me pull up my notes there. Resolution 43, again, is for the Phase 1 engineering services for the east-west multimodal connection. And we we received another update from our city engineer regarding the project, and wanted to ensure that there was local bidding on this project, which he assured us that there was. So we're going to be seeking another positive vote for Resolution 43. And finally, there's Resolution 44, which is for the Boyd Street Urban Meadow expansion. And to that resolution, we got assurances that there will be that there is a MBE and WBE participation goals are on that project. And I believe 15% of that project is going to be going to what we would consider a DBE. portion of that work, and that is to extend that the meadow headed towards 6th Street, where we're building. We have the federal courthouse and the state archives building, so it will continue that expansion. And I'm asking for an affirmative vote on all 3 of the resolutions that were in the Public Works Committee. And with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, Bill 8 of 2020. Mr. Petrosky, please be the into record.
Bill 8 of 2020 is an ordinance amending Part 5 of the Administrative Code under Chapter 2-500, adding thereto Chapter 2-515 to establish a Citizens Law Enforcement Advisory Committee.
That would be placed in Public Safety Committee. Moving on to ordinance for amendment, we have none this evening. We move on to ordinance for final passage, Bill 2 of 2020. Mr. Petrosky, please be the into record.
Bill 2 of 2020 is an ordinance amending the City of Harrisburg's official traffic control map pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances by converting Hamilton Street and Harris Street from one-way to two-way operations between North 6th Street to North 7th Street, and converting Clinton Street from one-way eastbound to one-way westbound between Wallace Street and North 7th Street.
Okay, may I have a motion to suspend?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, council members. Mr. Fawcett, are you on? Mr. Fawcett,
Yes, I just unmuted.
pardon me? Mr. Fawcett, are you available?
Yes, I am. I just unmuted. You broke
Okay.
up there. I think I had a little weakness in the connection.
Okay, I have a question. I see that you're converting Hamilton Street and Harris Street. You're doing both streets from one-way to two-way streets, two-way street operations between that, North 6th and 7th Street?
Correct.
Okay. Why do you feel it's necessary to do that?
It provides for better traffic flow for the people that will use the new archives facility.
Presently, it's a one-way going down for Harris, one-way coming up for Hamilton. So you don't think that's sufficient? That you have to make it two ways for them to come from the 7th Street and the 6th Street corridor? When during peak times of the day, most of your state workers utilize both of those corridors to go home. So you don't see them as utilizing that particular two conversions?
Well, the analysis done was not so much for the state employees, it was more for the public that'll be coming to use the archives facility. Under the current traffic flow, if they miss the parking, which is on the south side of the site, they have to circle several blocks to get back to Harris Street.
Okay. That's understandable. Now, my concern, pardon me?
We did have a traffic analysis done by a consultant, which I believe was reviewed and accepted by the city engineer.
Okay. Yes, I did see that traffic analysis, but I still was concerned why you were doing both streets. So you clarified that because of the parking.
Correct.
You have 3 homes that are presently occupied on Wallace Street. Are you providing some sort of parking for them? Because I understand that you contacted those residents and you said that they could utilize the parking lot there. But I think that the City of Harrisburg Council needs to do a residential parking for those particular residents.
Well, the project includes widening the pavement on the west side of Wallace Street for 7 parallel parking spaces. And the intent would be that the city would allocate those to the residents.
Okay, so we need to look at doing residential parking there then.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
But the problem with the archives lot is it's gated, and after hours, you can't get in and out. So it's just not a good idea to let non-users of the archives use that lot when the facility is not open.
Okay. Well, that's what I was told earlier in the process, is that the residents there could possibly use some of the parking there. So I just want a clarification as to where they would have parking.
Yeah, we're actually greatly improving Wallace Street. It's got, its aging pavement problems. We're totally rebuilding the street. We're putting walks and curbs on both sides that comply with the current city standards. In addition, the west side, we are putting the parallel parking in off of the cartway.
Okay. Well, I certainly thank you for the upgrades, because Wallace Street has been long in need of upgrades in that particular area. You are right that the sidewalks are underutilized because of the fact that they're just not there. They're old and they're breaking, and a lot of the vehicles who were attending that one particular Legion, they were parking on the sidewalks. Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Council members, are there any additional questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Falchek. Council members don't have any additional questions. We thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I will sign off from the Zoom meeting, unless you need me to stay on.
No, sir, not at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. May I have a motion to go back into the regular business meeting?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We will now turn to Bill 2, 2020. Since there's no additional questions or comments, please call the vote. Mr. Petrosky?
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Bill 2 passes.
thank you. Moving on to Bill 4.
Bill 4 of 2020 is an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg South 14th Street within the block bounded by Magnolia Street and Cloverleaf Terrace pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote. Mr. Petrosky?
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Bill 4 passes.
thank you. Moving on to Bill 5.
Bill 5 of 2020 is an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg the portion of Schuylkill Street from eastern side of North 7th Street to the western side of Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote. Mr. Petrosky?
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution, Bill 5 passes.
thank you. And we will remove Bill 7 of 2020. We will now move on to resolutions. Resolution 36 of 2020.
Resolution 36 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community Economic Development's Greenways, Trails and Recreation Program for $250,000 for the purpose of raising more funds to develop a Chutes and Ladders playground in Reservoir Park.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote. Mr. Petrosky?
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 36 passes.
Moving on to resolution 37.
Resolution 37 of 2020 is a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision plan to subdivide the property at 651 Ulrich Street into two separate parcels known as 3243 Penwood Street and 651 Ulrich Street.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 37 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 40.
Is this going
I'm
to be?
sorry. Yes, go ahead, 40.
Resolution 40 of 2020 is a resolution appointing Mr. Leland Nelson to serve on the Environmental Advisory Council.
That will be placed in administration committee. Moving on to resolution 41, 2020.
Resolution 41 of 2020 is a resolution appointing Mr. Ambrose Buck to serve on the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Coordinating Committee.
I have a motion to suspend the meeting.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Buck, are you on the phone? Ms. Ambrose?
Go ahead, Ambrose. We can hear you.
Ambrose is on the phone.
Mr. Ambrose?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Thanks for asking.
I had an opportunity to look at your resume, and I certainly don't really have any questions because you have all the experience and knowledge and skills relating to the environmental issues that we need for that particular appointment on the EAC committee. So I will pass it on to my council members. Council members, are there any additional questions that you have for Mr. Buck, please? I'll start with Mr. Allett. Do you have any questions?
Just one. First, thank you for your willingness to serve on this committee, despite also working a full-time job within the city as well. But talk to me a little bit about the perspective that you think you can bring to this committee in representing the city's interest on it.
Certainly. My perspective is, currently I'm the city's project manager. So I'm responsible for executing a lot of the capital projects that would be developed in the transportation committee. Also, I'm the interim traffic manager. So I'm responsible for maintaining the city's traffic assets as well as supervising the traffic team. So I am in touch with the needs of the city's transportation infrastructure.
Very good. Thank you so much. That's all the questions that I had.
Ms. Green?
I don't have any questions for you at this time. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Ms. Daniels? Ms. Daniels, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Mattson?
No questions. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Mr. Majors?
Yes. Not a question directly for Ambrose right now. My first question is, I know this is one of the appointments to the board that the city has. I don't know if this is for the mayor or Neil, but whose term will he be filling on the board?
Tanya Deardoff. Is that Tanya's? Mayor, this is your appointment. Whose term will he be filling in on?
This is for hats, and was it Charlie White? Is that
It was
correct?
Charlie White who left the city.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's helpful. And I guess, so I guess Charlie left a little while ago. So I guess we're now just getting around to filling it. So, okay.
We have an alternate as well.
Okay.
But the seat itself is vacant.
Okay. All right. So we had an alternate filling in that spot until we were able to fill it. Okay. All right. Perfect. You know, Ambrose, thank you for all your work that you've done for the city and continue to do for the city. And I think you would be a welcome addition to this committee and have the best interests of the city at heart. So thank you for your willingness to serve, and no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Ms. Bowers?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your interest and expertise for this board. Thank you.
Mr. Buck, thank you for your willingness to serve. I am really looking forward to working with you. I understand you worked in several projects for the city of Harrisburg, and you've done exceptional work as far as it relating to the transportation. So thank you again for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, council members.
And you have a good evening.
Will do. Thanks.
May I have a motion to go back into the business?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We will now turn to the legislative session business. We will now, Mr. Petrosky, since there are no additional questions or comments, please call the vote.
Calling the vote for resolution 41, Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 41 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 42.
Resolution 42 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Regional Transportation Plan Implementation Program for $832,437.94 to fund a lane diet, landscaping, and curbing work on Foster between 2nd and Front Streets.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Please call the vote, Mr. Petrosky.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 42 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 43.
Resolution 43 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Himley Horn and Associates Incorporated for the purpose of providing east-west multimodal connection phase 1 engineering services.
Any additional questions or comments on resolution 43, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrosky.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 43 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 44.
Resolution 44 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Wilson Consulting Group PC for the purpose of providing engineering services, including conceptual design, final design, bidding construction services for the Boyd Street Urban Meadow expansion.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 44 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 46.
Resolution 46 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security's 2020 Regional Catastrophic Preparedness Grant Program to fund projects that manage catastrophic incidents by improving and expanding regional collaboration for catastrophic incident preparedness.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Madsen,
Yes.
Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 46 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 48.
Resolution 48 of 2020 is a resolution appointing Mr. Richard Martinez to serve on the Environmental Advisory Council.
That will be placed in Administration Committee. Moving on to Resolution 49.
Resolution 49 of 2020 is a resolution approving the third proposed 2020 budget reallocation.
That will be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 50.
Resolution 50 of 2020 is a resolution approving the disposition of surplus equipment which has exhausted its useful life for the city operations by the Bureau of Fleet Management.
That will be placed in Public Works Committee. Resolution 51.
Resolution 51 of 2020 is a resolution providing guidelines for the review of use of force policies and practices in the city of Harrisburg and establishing timelines for such reporting to the mayor and council.
That will be placed in Public Safety Committee. Moving on to Resolution 52.
Resolution 52 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a reimbursement agreement with Capital Regional Water to fund the installation and construction of ADA compliant curb ramps, curb extensions, and the streetscape improvements as part of Capital Region Water's South Allison Hill Green Stormwater Infrastructure Project.
That also will be placed in Public Works. Resolution 53, please.
Resolution 53 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate, enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Township of Swatara for the purpose of allowing the city to use a compost facility owned and operated by the Township of Swatara.
That will be placed in Public Works Committee. Moving on to Resolution 54.
Resolution 54 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the National Endowment for the Arts, Our Town Grant Program for up to $150,000 to fund the installation of murals at the end of Dairy Street and Allison Hill in partnership with Sprocket Mural Works and Tri-County Community Action.
That will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Moving on to Resolution 55.
Resolution 55 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the submission of a redevelopment assistant capital program grant application of up to $9 million to fund renovations of the Martin Luther King Jr. Government Center located at 10 North 2nd Street, Harrisburg, PA 17101.
That also will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Resolution 56.
Resolution 56 of 2020 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Harrisburg to ratify and confirm the provisions of Executive Order number 3 of 2020 that provides for an application for impacted businesses for a one-time credit on commercial solid waste disposal and collection accounts issued in conformity with the mayoral declaration of public health COVID-19 disaster emergency.
That will be placed in Public Works. Moving on to old business. Council members, is there any old business this evening? Mr. Majors?
So just one question, and again, I don't remember hearing about it, but if I missed it, I apologize. Status of the police substation on Allison Hill.
Mayor, are you available, please?
I'm here. I don't have an update. I know that the police continue to work out of the station, but there hasn't been a public opening of the station in part due to COVID-19. So what I will do is try and get an update from the commissioner for you at our next meeting. Now that we're in green, it is absolutely appropriate to discuss that.
Okay, yeah, because I just think it's important that we at least, have a discussion, talk about, everything that's going on and what the work that we, our folks can be doing out of that building. I guess another piece of old business would be our comprehensive plan. I know that there's some pending litigation, but can we at least not mention anything that's going on with the litigation, just in terms of process for us? This has been an ongoing issue. I think we started this on my first term on council, and just want to, I get questions about it on a regular basis. So just want to, see where things are. Anything, of course, understanding that there's certain things that can be mentioned due to pending litigation.
I can address that if you want, Mayor.
Fine.
So there was a series of meetings that were about to begin. The Law Bureau from the very beginning, under the very first RFP, was supposed to do at the back end the land use legal analysis because there wasn't money in the original. And when we undertook that, it became clear that there was a couple continuity issues in the document. And it's gone back to Wallace Montgomery to work through those continuity issues, which was beyond their bid. And they submitted a proposal either the end of last week or early this week, I think for another $8,600 to do the last piece of it, because they were really just reviewing the chapters and not sort of doing the chapter 1 versus chapter 2 versus chapter 3, and then making sure that the data in each of them matched up with each other. So because they've gone through it chapter by chapter, as opposed to the whole thing. So that is still, the hope is that that wraps up relatively quickly. I think the Planning Commission would love it to be over tomorrow. Ms. Green might speak to that, but that's where it is. So they just sent that in. That was put through, if I understand it correctly, on a purchase order to add that additional work so they can move forward. There's a weekly call they do, the Planning Bureau and the vendor to go through it. So hopefully that wraps up quickly, that continuity review. But I'll give you some silly examples in the draft. There was just like the same exact piece of data. They use different sources. So the amount of the population in one place chapter was different than the population in another chapter. The amount of the makeup of the city in terms of how many, one had us as a majority white city when we're not a majority white city. That kind of, because they were relying on different statistical things. They were citing the statistic, they just they weren't locking them in.
Right, the statistics, they weren't using the same data sets throughout.
Yes, so because different chapters were prepared at different times by different people. And so they're just doing a continuity to put the facts together.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we still have a little ways to go before we hear anything about it. Okay, I guess I have other things, but I think those would be more in line with new business. So that's all I have for old business at this time.
Okay, anything else, council members, under old business?
I'm not sure if it's old or new business, but just so that our residents know, we'll be discussing budget reallocations next week at the workshop. And as part of that discussion, we're going to be talking about the kind of reshaping of the environmental Teen Core project given COVID. And we're going to be talking about how to rescue it for the summer.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else on the old business? Moving on to new business, council members. Does anyone have new business? Mr. Allen?
Yes, just a quick question regarding kind of sound and noise ordinance. I saw a lot of chatter on through social media about the ongoing fireworks happening every evening and how entertained everyone is about it or not. But is there a time when the fireworks are now in violation of any of our existing sound ordinances in effect?
That is a very hard thing to answer. I've been talking with the fire chief almost daily because the complaints are coming in. And it really wasn't designed really for fireworks, although it is a noise that it's obtrusive. President Williams had asked the Law Bureau to look at the noise ordinance based on the case law. And the ordinance, I tell you, at least part of it is unenforceable because it's so vague. It's what reasonably annoys the average person. You tell me how to prove that in any courtroom. So it's worth probably bringing back and doing a little bit of bringing it up to date for what it is. There is it is a tough situation because of the way the state legislature sort of tied our hands about not making anything more restrictive than what they put in their law on fireworks when they changed it. And the commissioner, the fire chief, the mayor, I think are working on collective solutions to try and address it. But it is a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, and listen, at the end of the day, if someone wants to sell fireworks, God bless them, have a great time with that. But I'm thinking more about the time in the night. I've noticed that we are seeing it happen well past the 10 o'clock hour and even into the 11 o'clock hour. And I think that's kind of where I start to have a little bit of that issue with it, even personally, But I've just seen a lot of chatter about it, and I'm just curious as to what we might be able to do about it.
And the state law actually forbids it from being used within 150 feet of a structure, an occupied structure. There's not too many places in the city that are not occupied structures. It forbids it to be used on private or public land without written permission, but enforcing it is a challenge.
Right.
I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Okay, I mean, like I said, I'm totally open for us looking a little bit deeper at it. And I realize it's not just our community. I've had friends in other cities also comment on it in their local areas. So I know it's kind of hitting a nerve with some people for sure. And particularly all of us.
I can tell you my proposal to the fire chief. So my proposal to the fire chief was to have fireworks go off at each legislature who voted for the new law for about 30 days at night, go over there with a group and set them off every night and see how they like it where they live. That seemed to be a reasonable way to approach whether it's intrusive or not on anyone's lives.
Right, true. Yeah. And, you know, yes, I might be showing my age just a little bit.
No, not really. Whoopi Goldberg said something today about fireworks, and she was really upset behind the fact that in New York, they're setting them off all hours of the day.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for the update on that. That's all that I had.
Okay. Anyone else for new business? Mr. Major?
Yeah, so just a couple of things. I think I'll start off with just trying to maybe get some clarification from the administration. I know, you know, this will be our last legislative session before the 4th of July. And, you know, we hope everyone enjoys, you know, what we have planned in the city for, you know, that weekend. But, you know, what is the status of that in comparison to our 2nd Street, you know, last Saturday, since, you know, they coincide this year, July 4th, and it would be that Saturday. And I know there's been discussion about potentially extending some of what the DID does, but having both 2nd Street and Front Street shut down at the same time could provide a little bit of a logistical challenge in terms of navigating our city. So if I just wanted to, you know, at least figure out, you know, what the posture is going to be for Harrisburg come next weekend.
Yeah, I can address some of that. So we did agree to extend the outdoor dining through the 4th of July holiday, which is on a Saturday. And the city is not doing anything in Riverfront Park or on Front Street. We are going to shut it down, and we're going to allow people to spread out and enjoy the fireworks and maybe have a picnic. But to the extent the city is having festivities, it's going to be food trucks, and they will be on City Island. So you'll have a combination of being able to go out and dine downtown with 2nd Street closed, or go onto City Island to the food trucks, order your food, and take them out and eat somewhere, anywhere in the park system. So we're not going to have food trucks along Front Street as we have in the past. It's a scaled back 4th of July, but there will be food trucks and there will be fireworks, and we're encouraging people to be socially distant and to enjoy time in their family groups, which I think we can do along the river. There's a lot of place to spread out. In terms of the downtown Saturday night dinings, that has been going extremely well. And there is a desire on the part of many of the restaurants to extend that beyond July 4th. I think that is doable, but there's some things that we have to work out. Most importantly, I'm trying to do it in conjunction with Park Harrisburg. And basically, when we do this, we are taking over meter time and meter hours. And there may need to be a compensation to the system if we're going to extend it for instance, as has been proposed for the rest of the summer. And that potentially can be covered by the restaurants or the DID or even the city, but I'm working on getting a sign off from them along with a cost for any extension. So right now it's announced through the 4th of July holiday weekend. And then I'm hoping that we may be able to extend it further into the summer, because there really has been a lot of positive commentary about it. And I think people are really enjoying being able to dine al fresco. So more to come on that.
Okay, no, I agree, and thank you for that update, because again, I think this is, this initiative, as I've, talked to you, privately and also have said publicly, it's been something that's been great for our downtown businesses. I know that there are other neighborhoods throughout the city that have, their own restaurant rows or, a number of restaurants that could potentially be interested in doing something similar, particularly along Derry Street between 13th and about 16th Street, where we usually have the Multicultural Fest. There's a bunch of restaurants there, 3rd Street corridor, and throughout the in Harrisburg. So I like what we're doing downtown, but if we can work on trying to working with some of our other restaurants throughout the city to encourage them to, be willing to, get a permit, because we don't know how long we're going to be in this phase reopening. We want to make sure that our city businesses continue to be able to do well. And I know you've worked with Manjaqui and other restaurants to, allow them to be able to do this as well on a Saturday.
Yeah, thank you, Council Major. I'll just affirm what you're saying, which is that we are absolutely open to proposals from restaurants in other parts of the city who would like to participate in this. Maybe on Derry Street, we do it on a different day. Maybe we do it on a Friday as opposed to a Saturday, but we could brand it for different neighborhoods. And the city's role has been to basically handle the traffic control. This is a restaurant-driven program. If the restaurants want to propose this to the city, we're eager to listen, and we'll be happy to help facilitate it. So that's the message that should go out. Okay. If restaurants want it, we will help make it happen.
All right, no, that's great, and that's I think what we need to hear should be a partnership, and that's positive. Additionally, I guess since the last time we had a formal legislative session, I just wanted to highlight that we did have the graduation of our Harrisburg School District students from, Gear Up, SciTech, Harrisburg High, and want to congratulate all those graduates on a great accomplishment through these trying times. We all look forward to what those next steps are going to be positive influences in our city and then wherever they're off to start their new adventure and their new journey. It's great. Also want to note that several of my fellow council members participated in the Adopt a Senior program, and all of our seniors, I believe, have received their gifts from a number of people. I think our community really pulled together to be able to help out our students through COVID-19, and it was just a great thing to see. And I want to give a special shout out to my senior Johnny, who is headed to Shippensburg University, and good luck to you in your your future endeavors. Again, and lastly, from my perspective, well, I guess two more things. I'll just address to Councilwoman Green, because I just had a question that I just wanted to make sure folks are aware. I know we have we have Resolution 51 and Bill 8 coming to your committee that are going to be looking to deal with some reforms in our police department. I just wanted to ask you, I know, with COVID, things are a little bit different, but, in the past, we've always had several different, public meetings, try to do them in different neighborhoods, and just wanted to see if you've had an opportunity to think about what the public hearing process is going to be for these resolutions, because there's one resolution and one bill, because there's been a lot of interest in, amongst community members on how we plan to move forward.
Yeah, thanks, Councilman Majors. So, we'll get the conversation started next week with our work session, but then I plan on holding some more public conversations, maybe on different platforms. Maybe we'll look to use Facebook Live. Maybe we'll even take an opportunity to, I know that the mayor does Facebook Live every Friday. Maybe we'll be able to participate in some of those just to get the conversation going on different platforms. I do believe we will be going on hiatus, so it probably won't be getting passed before we go on hiatus, but I think it'll give us a great opportunity to continue the conversation over the summer on different platforms in person if we can. If not, we'll do it virtually. We'll see, what different ways we can get comments in, making sure that we get the information out that the comments can be sent to our city clerk we'll have different virtual sessions that we can host, and we'll see what recommendations community members have as well, whether they're having town halls or something. We can go out and speak about it and just get the information out every way we can and get the public comment back.
Okay, great. No, thank you. And, just definitely want to make sure, we're encouraging as much public participation as we can through this process, because, we've all, seen and either seen, what's been happening throughout the country. We've participated, we're getting feedback, and I just want to make sure that the public knows that, we're here to listen. You can reach out to any of us at any time to be able to, have your comments heard and make sure you reach out to us so that you're involved through this process. And lastly, from my perspective, I know a few of my fellow council members, we attended the funeral service for a true champion of our city who passed away. And, I don't think we were able to formally acknowledge her at a city council legislative session, but Ms. Lisa Berhanen, who just was a true advocate for the youth in the city of Harrisburg, passed away. I know, we were able to attend tender service and the mayor participated as well. So, to the Berhanen family and all of her friends, our thoughts and prayers are with you. She was one of us. She was a city of Harrisburg resident who tirelessly advocated for the kids and the youth in our community. She was a very close friend of a lot of my friends, and I've had the opportunity to meet her, and we used to speak, and always had a big smile and a hug for folks that were in our community, as long as you were when you were doing things positive. And it's just a true loss, and seeing the outpouring of love for the Berhanen family over the weekend was important, and we just hope that everyone continues to remain safe even as we're entering this green phase of reopening. Remember that the coronavirus is still out there, so continue to remember to practice all the social distancing, washing your hands. And as we've seen, there's an outbreak at Dauphin County prison, and oftentimes, this is, it's a very communicable disease. So we just need folks to continue to follow all those guidelines so that we can try to keep our continue to keep our community safe moving forward. So thank you guys for indulging me and taking up some time, but those are some things that I just wanted to make sure I got off my chest and wanted to. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Meeting's adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good
Yeah,
night.
good night.